The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Live from Boston, Massachusetts, it's Unscheduled with Les Skymo and the Dave. Happy 4th of July, America, and thank each and every one of you for tuning in tonight. We got a special program, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. And thank Jimmy for producing this on a holiday. And this is a wonderful time to reflect on what it took Dave to become where we are today. And folks, I want to open this with the Star Spangled Banner, and and then we'll give you a little history on that. But if all goes well, here we go. Dave, I never get tired of hearing that, brother. I tell you, if that don't put a knot in your throat, you just ain't American. Some people say you just ain't American. And if you'd like to call in, 1-800-508-5431, and you can come in live on Unscheduled and here on Armed Radio Global. And I think we're into like 100 and some odd countries, Dave. 166, 192, 66, something like that. It's a bunch. And, the Star Spangled Banner there, just a few interesting things on that. Here comes the ambulance. But now I'm sure they didn't hear that in our soundproof studio. And, Dave, what do you know about who wrote that?
It was Francis Scott Key, I believe.
That was Francis Scott Key, yeah.
And this is the nation's 242nd birthday.
That's right.
Established July 4th, 1776.
That's right. Now, Francis Scott Key was born in August 1st of 1779 in Western Maryland. And he's from a very wealthy family. And following the capture of Washington on August 24th, 1814, the British had captured Dr. William Beans, and he was a prominent physician. And Francis was a well-known lawyer, and they asked him to assist in the efforts to try to get Dr. Beans released. And so he agreed to do it, and so they took a little boat over to the prisoner ship, and so they agreed to talk to him and everything, and they met with a Colonel John Skinner, and he was a government agent who arranged for the prisoner exchanges, and but they told Francis, they said, all right, we'll talk to you, but after we bomb the fort. And Fort McHenry. And after 25 hours of continuous bombing, the British, they decided to leave since they were unable to destroy the fort as they had hoped. And realizing that the British had ceased the attack, Francis Scott Key looked toward the fort to see if the flag was still there. And to his relief, the flag was still flying. So quickly he wrote down the words to a poem, which soon it became a handout, like in a handbill, and under the title Defense of Fort McHenry. Later, somebody put music to it and renamed it the Star Spangled Banner. And it became a popular patriotic song, and but it wasn't until March 3rd, 1931, that it became our national anthem. And Francis Scott Key died on January 11th, 1843, while visiting his daughter in Baltimore. He died of pleurisy, and but now he was a very religious man, and he, believe it or not, now he was dedicated to his church, and if there was a honest lawyer, we may have had one right there, you know, and but it's interesting how that song came about, you know.
I think a lot of people years ago wanted to change the song to "America the Beautiful."
Yeah,
there were. Well, it's a tough song to sing.
It is.
That's why you see so many people mess it up. and "America the Beautiful" is a lot easier song to sing. And a lot of people wanted that to be the national anthem. So it's kind of a strange tune if you think about it. I mean, it's very hard to sing.
Right. Well, you know, normally in a song, they rhyme. You know, poetry comes and goes. You know, it don't have to rhyme like a song, but it just don't have the normal lyrics. It wasn't written as a song.
If you start that song off key, you're going to be way in trouble time you get to the end.
Well, once you see this time after time, people trying to sing it, once they go off, they can't never come back, you know.
Remember Roseanne Barr?
Oh, Lord.
That was awful.
She'll never forget it
That
either.
was terrible.
That was a disgrace.
It was. That's not the... You shouldn't use that song as a joke.
No.
If she was trying to make a joke, trying to make a joke out of the song, she knows she can't sing.
Right.
Anybody can listen to a tape knows that.
Yeah.
So why would she do that? Only to make fun or to make a joke out of it?
But you know, even if she couldn't carry tuna in a bucket, if she would have done that with respect, I don't care how bad she sounded, I would have applauded her for it if she put a patriotic effort into it. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think that was the attempt. Was to...
it was mockery.
Yeah, to mock the song or badmouth the song.
Yeah.
Now make a joke out of it.
Now check this out. Francis Scott Key's father was General John Ross Key. His mother was Anne Arnold. Daddy wanted a boy. Phoebe Charlton. Francis Scott Key married a Charlton.
So you got something in common with Roseanne.
Well,
you got an Arnold in there and you got a Charlton in there.
Yeah.
So you got something in common with Roseanne.
I never thought about that. But
remember Tom Arnold?
Yeah, I remember that creep. But now I'm not going to try to sing that. So I don't know if he's any kin to me or not.
He very well could be.
Mom's going to do the genealogy on all that stuff. And but now today been a very special day, Dave. My cousin, I read a thing that he had. He was at the grocery store, Walmart or somewhere, and there was a millennial at the cash register, and his total come up to $17.43. I think, was it 44 cents? And no, wait a minute, $17.74. And he made a comment to the boy. He said, "Well, if I'd have spent 2 more pennies, that'd have been $17.76." And the kid looked at him like he didn't know. He was dumbfounded by that. And so my cousin tried to enlighten him, and he just shook his head like he didn't know what he was talking about. He had no idea what today represented. And he just told him, said, "Man, your generation is doomed." And there's a lot of truth in that, Dave. That, on one hand, is funny. On the other hand, it is so sad.
Well, if people make up the country, which they do, that means in a few years, this country's going to be doomed, because they're going to be the movers and shakers of this country.
Right.
The millennial generation. Just think, if they don't know history, what's going to happen?
Brother, they're going to repeat it in a lot of ways, and then they're going to destroy.
I think our generation was the last generation to have civics classes and American history classes.
We're the last generation, Dave, of a lot of things.
Yeah,
We're the last generation of a rotary
I'm coming up
phone.
on 65 years old this beginning of next year, and the kids today, they're just not taught the things that I was taught.
Well,
they don't even know how to make change.
No, they don't.
I mean, you go in a store, we were taught that in elementary, junior high school, how to make change.
Oh, yeah.
They have no clue.
Right.
Without a machine telling them how much change to give you back, they don't know. They're in the dark.
That's true. On one hand, this technology, it gives us at our fingertips. Anything we want to know is at our fingertips. On the other side of that, the curse of it is, Dave, our kids can't even communicate. They can't count. They can't, they have no social skills if it's not through a computer or a cell phone.
Les, the kids today, I don't think they're thinkers, because they don't have to.
They don't have to think.
They've got, they look on their smartphone, look up information. They might be full of information, but they're not thinkers.
Well, see, what good is knowledge if you don't know how to use the knowledge you have? Knowledge, David, if it's used properly, it's an asset to any human being. Knowledge, you can... I don't know exactly how to put this, but beyond, you give a 4-year-old, and I done it with my own grandson, with the Netflix. Penny couldn't get that going, handed it to Tanner, our grandson, 4 years old. Boom, he has that up there. All right, but me knowing my son, and my son knowing me, he gets around us. We're going to teach that kid stuff, and we're going to teach his sister stuff. You have to learn things beyond this technology, Dave. And I always push, that's another reason why I always push trade school, because our public education, we have, it's like this, America's 242 years old today, Dave. Mm-hmm. Our public school system has done nothing but taught our children how to get up, and go to school, which most of them don't even want to do that. It's made corporate robots out of them. Is basically the only thing that school is for anymore, to teach them how to get up, go to work, stay there 8 hours, and go home. That's basically what you get in your public schools. You don't get your history anymore. Your math, that stupid Common Core math, where it takes 2 pieces of paper to add 2 and 2 and subtract 2 from 5. And
but Les, the thing is that the kids today are ever learning, but never coming to the knowledge of the truth. And
Amen.
that truth is the truth of God. They don't have no God in their life. And in the Bible it says, but you, Daniel, this is in Daniel chapter 12, verse 4, it says, but you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end, and many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. And we are seeing the increase of knowledge right now.
Right.
But
useless knowledge for the most part.
But if you don't know the truth of God, what do you know? It's useless.
Right. It is. Right. And because I tell you, the proper application, Dave, kids don't know how, other than something that's digital or computer, okay? Outside of that, a lot of the kids, now not all of them, they're not all that way. And I'm not knocking the technology per se, okay, but I'm knocking the failing education system to teach these children, our history for the most part. Well, our kids are so detached from the foundation of America that just like this young man in the grocery store, Dave, he had no idea what today was all about. And you see the man on the street, the man on the beach, they go and they ask these people these patriotic questions, and some of these people are in their 30s. They have no education, Dave, about America. You see the explosion of socialism growing in our country today because of a failing school system.
Les, I was thinking about this past week, and I was thinking about the Supreme Court, and they need a justice to fulfill Kennedy's obligation, which he's retiring. But I wrote this down, and it come to me. I was just thinking about it, and I wrote, the Supreme Court could be a great sewer of the society or become a great arbiter of the law and a fair judge of the Constitution. But in my opinion, it's done the former concerning abortion and the same-sex marriage, bowing to the whims of society and the desires, basically, of the devil.
Right.
That's what they've become.
Exactly.
Now, these people are highly learned in the law.
Yeah.
But look what laws they interpret.
Look what they've allowed. Yeah.
They're ever learning, but never coming to the knowledge of the truth. And this is what we see today, even amongst the educated. They have no morality.
Right.
And if you have no morality, you can have no society. Right. Eventually, it's going to go wild.
You got pure chaos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what you're seeing today.
Exactly.
You're seeing people saying they want to get rid of ICE. They want to get rid of the law.
Right.
Because they think it's a problem.
Right.
Because it doesn't conform to their standards of what they want. But it's the law. Where would we be without law enforcement?
Right.
You'd have to be well armed to go outside your house because you don't know what's going to happen.
Well, see, Dave, that goes back to the attack on America. Now, I want to read you some quotes. First, let me read this first of all now for you youngsters out there, you millennials that don't know where America got its name from. Old Skymo gonna tell you. America is named after the Italian explorer. Can you pronounce it?
Amerigo Vespucci.
That's right. Although he was not one to discover the land, he was one to propose that this land belonged to a new continent. The continent was first labeled as America. In 1507, Dave, this continent was named America by a map maker who gathered all the knowledge gained from various expeditions, including Christopher Columbus. The map depicted the Western Hemisphere and the new continent and the Pacific Ocean, and it forever changed the world's perception of geography. Now, Dave, if I can pull that off of the computer, any of these millennials can do this. Mm-hmm. Know your history. Learn who you are. Learn where you're from, Dave.
They're intellectually lazy, though.
Learn. I tell you what, I wish that they would dig deep down and learn what communism actually is, Dave. All they got to do is bring up Cuba, Venezuela, North Korea, any of these third world countries. Bring them up and read about them, and learn about them. I don't understand. It's their lack of knowledge of the truth, Dave, is why they're glomming onto this stuff. The colleges has been taken over by these left-wing liberals that hate God, they hate the Bible, they hate anything that is righteous. They hate America. These people hate America, Dave.
Exactly. This Joe Crowley, he was a 10-term Democrat from New York. That means he was in office for 20 years and got beat by this late girl named Cortez.
Unbelievable.
She got 57% of the vote, and I think 27,000 people voted. I mean, that's a piddly number.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking in a district like Crowley's is probably, I don't know, maybe 800,000, maybe close to 1 million people.
Yeah.
And to get only 27,000 people voting for this primary,
pathetic,
she went door to door is how she won. He just took for granted that he was going to win it because he always has. But he got fooled.
Yeah.
And he lost. And what she ran on was to get rid of ICE and to get free college for all the students there, to have free health care and free housing. Nothing was going to be charged on anyone. But you don't get no free lunch. Somebody has to pay for everything.
Somebody's paying for it,
exactly.
Somebody's
Look at the Soviet Union, how their demise. They thought communism would work, but Ronald Reagan predicted communism would fall on its own weight.
Absolutely.
And be tossed in the dustbin of history, and that's exactly what happened. It's gone. There is no Soviet Union, and the only reason that China exists is because they allow by government. They allow their businesses to exist. But if it wasn't for the freedom they have in the business area, they would fall too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
But Crowley, he thought, well, he was fourth in line in the Democrat Party. He was scheduled to take Nancy Pelosi's place.
Right.
So, look what happened.
Yeah. Well, hey, let me read you some quotes here, Dave. Now, we've heard the term separation of church and state, and the big push now to take, I've heard it, you've heard it, we've all heard it, you got to get religion out of politics. You got to get religion out of politics. Now, and me and you know there's a difference between religion and a relationship. Now, our founding fathers, they knew the difference between the religion and a relationship. And if you go look at some of these quotes, you'll understand they knew, even though they used the word religion, they knew the difference between a relationship and religion. Let me read you some of these quotes here. Now, this is from George Washington. This is our first president. Now, these are in their own words. It says, while we are zealously performing the duties of good citizens and soldiers, we certainly ought not to be inattentive to the higher duties of religion, to the distinguished character of patriot. It should be our highest glory to add the more distinguished character of Christian. And John Adams, our second president, said this: suppose a nation is some distant religion, should take the Bible for their own law book, and every member should regulate his conduct by the precepts there exhibited. Every member would be obligated in conscience to temperance, frugality, and industry, to justice, kindness, and charity towards his fellow men, and to piety, love, and reverence toward Almighty God. What a utopia, what a paradise would this region be. And he's just, that's, if people would just adhere to the Word of God, David, that's how it would be. It would be unbelievable blessings from God, and we're kind of like the Hebrew children right now. When you see them, when you look at their history, they're up and down, and we're like that in a lot of ways, Dave. When our leadership, when it turns like it did with Obama, or you go back with Roe v. Wade, a lot of America, we struggle, Dave, to prosper. We struggle to stay on top. We struggle for prosperity. We struggle for morality. And you know why that is? It's because of this sin, in this country. I'm not talking about everybody being born on a church pew. We all know that we can't walk on water, Dave, but it's about submitting yourself to a holy God and changing your direction, Dave. If you want to find fault, you can find it with me. But you'll find a man struggling to find God also, on the other hand. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. We have law because it's the letter of the law, but Jesus came along and said, the letter of the law you cannot keep.
Right. That's
because
right.
He was asked once by a Pharisee or a scribe, he said, what is the greatest law? He said, to love your Lord thy God with all your heart, mind, strength. And the second's like the first, to love your neighbor as yourself. And if you do these things, because all the law hangs on these.
Right.
So if you do these things, you wouldn't have all these other laws. But people won't do those things because their heart isn't right with God.
Right.
So we have to have laws on the books, and we keep adding law, because society gets more and more corrupt, more and more evil. And one day, there will be no law. In the millennial reign of Jesus Christ, there won't be individual laws in individual countries.
You won't need it.
Because there's going to be one law.
Right.
And that's going to be a service to God, or if you step out of line, you'll be in serious trouble, because the Bible says that Jesus Christ will rule this earth with an iron rod.
Well, sure.
And he will know those who step out of line, and he'll take care of that. So the laws of the land won't mean anything at that time in human history. So this is where we're heading. We're getting more and more laws, and the laws that the people want to enact are laws that the heathen, like a law that a woman can have an abortion.
Right, yeah.
They're going crazy. They're going crazy over this thought that Donald Trump may put on the court somebody that's anti-abortion.
Yeah.
They're going nuts over that.
Right.
But there's a thing called, I think it's called stare decisis, which means the law, an existing law. It means that you can't change existing law, that it should be recognized because it's been there for a long time.
Precedent.
Right, precedent. Well, look at the slavery. It existed for a very long time.
From the beginning of time.
And everybody thought, well, that's good law. Mm-hmm. But it was changed, wasn't it?
It was changed.
And the Supreme Court changed that. So how much more should killing the innocent, the unborn, be changed?
Be changed, right.
It's more devastating to be killed before you have a chance to even become a slave.
Right. Well, see, Dave, though, here's how that will work.
Not that, slavery is good, but at least you're alive.
Right. The thing about that is they think that it's going to be ended just one stroke of the pen from the Chief Justice.
No, it's state law.
It goes back to the states. Okay, now our founding fathers, when you go back to the Revolutionary War, everybody was committed to the state they was from. Okay, the House of Burgess, okay, that was just representatives representing them states. Okay, people wasn't loyal to that little government. They was loyal to their states. And that's the way it should be today. But it's not that way. that the way our founding fathers designed and implemented the government, we are so far, Dave, away from that government.
Exactly. When this country started, you would be shocked if you could get in a time machine and go back.
Oh my goodness!
You'd find no consistency in currency. I mean, if you took a currency was like an IOU, or it was like a check from an individual, they would give you a paper, and it would signify that they would pay you either in silver or gold.
Right.
And that this was only a temporary measure until they could actually pay you
the term IOU.
Right. And then we got the consistency of banknotes. And these banknotes became consolidated into federal
when we
notes.
had the gold to back them up.
When we had silver and gold, and then we went off the gold standard. Then we went eventually off the silver standard. Now our money's useless. It's whatever they want it to be.
Whatever they want it to be.
According to a world market. Now, if the world ever decides that the U.S. dollar is not the currency of choice, and they go to, say, the euro, our money could become worthless.
Well, sure.
And we could be taking a wheelbarrow full of money to the grocery store to buy
a loaf of bread, a slice of bread,
maybe a half a shopping cart worth of food. Look what has happened in Venezuela.
Oh my goodness! And they're a oil-rich country.
And the same thing is going on now in Iran. And that's why the people are up in arms, is because their currency's devalued, I think, 50%, because that's what's coming upon the world. It's going to hit everybody eventually.
Yes.
That currency will have no effect. And the only thing that's going to have any effect, that's going to be worth anything, is gold and silver.
Yeah. And, but see, people, that's why I say, Dave, these millennials, and the generation before them, my kids and your kids' generation, okay, they, of all people, Dave, they ought to see where we're headed. They ought to recognize the sign of the time. Okay, I mean, if they was really, really concerned, now a few of them are, but brother, it takes more than just a few of them to run a civilized society. Because look at what we got now. We got chaos, and it's just growing and growing. And I thought when President Trump got elected, everybody started going wild. I really thought this would be settled down by now, Dave. But you see it getting more vicious.
It will get
more vicious because they don't get what they want.
Another thing, the reason it's getting more vicious is because Trump fights back.
He fights back.
And George W. Bush never, ever fought back.
Right.
He wouldn't say a word. Matter of fact, why in the world is the only people that George W. Bush has criticized? He's never said a word against Obama when his 8 years. Never said a word against him. Now they're piping up against Trump.
Yeah.
Now, why is that? They're supposed to be on the same side.
That just goes to show you, Dave, there ain't a dime's worth of difference.
These anti-Trumpers, I'm really getting a little tired of them.
Deep down, these people are globalists.
They are.
It's like I said before, they worship, they're of a different religion, so to speak, but they worship the same God, and it's globalism. Mm-hmm. It's self-preservation. They're not concerned. Our state representatives, very, very few of them, are concerned about this, about the republic that our founding fathers intended us to have this day, which we do not have. We have no idea, Dave, what it is like to be free people. For generations and generations, we don't know what it's like to be free. We know what it's like, what we call freedom, but we don't know what real, true, constitutional freedom is. We've never experienced that, Dave. It's like living in a place where we've never been in the presence of God. Only hell if you die and you're condemned to hell, you're going to experience the total absence of God. And that's going to be the worst punishment.
Exactly. What comes around goes around. Think about this. We've been here before. Think about this. Listen, this is in Genesis chapter 11. Now the whole earth had one language and one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. Then they said to one another, Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly.
Yeah.
They had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And they said, Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the entire earth. But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men have built. And the Lord said, Indeed, the people are one, and they all have one language. And this is what they begin to do. Now nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. Come, let us go down there and confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city, because they didn't have the one language that they spoke. They could no longer communicate with each other. But now, in this world, our computers talk to one another all the time.
Yeah.
The financial computers talk 24/7. They're always talking back and forth, and we basically have one language. Mm-hmm. And this is where we are today, that we think we're the ones.
Right.
That we know nothing bad can befall us.
That's a great point, Dave.
Because we've gotten to the point where we've built the tower, but the tower is our own egos.
Yeah.
That's the tower, and that will be brought down.
You're exactly right. That's a great point. And, there's one thing, you can argue with it all day long. But, Dave, I tell you, things come to pass. It just stuns me, it's the immorality of our society. There are so many people. Now, I tell you, I seen this a lot when I was a kid. There was a lot of good moral people that never went to church. There was a lot of good moral people that wasn't Christians, Dave. Mm-hmm. And they would conduct themselves properly around people that they knew.
Give them respect.
Give them respect. Mm-hmm. And you don't see that anymore. You see everything good, everything American, everything that is biblical. You see it under attack today. And this is the grand scheme of Satan. Whether you believe in him or not, study it, look at it, examine it for yourself, Dave, and you will see an orchestrated plan to destroy this country and the people in this country. And let me read a couple of these quotes. Here's the preamble to our Constitution. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Declaration of Independence, July 4, 1776. And, it goes on and on, these quotes by our founding fathers that are religious quotes, Dave. And these men were good moral men. And John Hancock said this: resistance to tyranny becomes the Christian and social duty of each individual. Continue steadfast and with a proper sense of your dependence on God, nobly defend those rights which heaven gave, and no man ought take from us. Now, you tell me, what do you get when you take religion out of government?
You get a mess.
What we got today.
But you can see you can have all the laws you want, and nobody's going to obey them, and nobody's going to believe in them, because they have no morality.
See, that's because
The law is based on morality.
and these fellas, our founding fathers, they preached conscience. They wanted you to be consciously aware of right and wrong. And there was only one place you could get that, Dave. That's out of the Bible.
There's a little story.
Yeah.
There's a little story in the Bible. This is Genesis 19, verse 6, beginning verse 6. So Lot went out to them through the doorway and shut the door behind him. Now he's going out to meet these men.
Oh, yeah.
These men are kind of acting wild. And he said, please, my brothers, do not do so wickedly. See now that I have 2 daughters who have not known a man. Please let me bring them out to you, and you may do to them as you wish. Only do nothing to these men, since this is by reason they have come under my shadow of my roof. Now these 2 men were angels sent by God.
Right.
And then it says, and then they said, stand back. The angel said to Lot, stand back. Then they said, this one came in to stay here, and he keeps acting as a judge. Now we will deal worse with you than with them. So they pressed hard against the man Lot, and they came near to break down the door. But the men reached out their hands and pulled Lot back into the house and shut the door. And then they struck the men who were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they became weary trying to find the door.
Yeah.
Think about that now.
Yeah.
These guys, these men that were trying to bust into Lot's house were struck with blindness, but yet it never dissuaded them from trying to find the door to try to get into where these angels were. They saw these angels and they thought they were beautiful, which they were. They were angels sent by God. So they were so enamored by their looks, they've been so perverted that even struck with blindness, they never tried. I mean, I would have freaked out if I was suddenly made blind.
Yeah.
Most people would. Suddenly, if you're made blind, you can't see. You would panic. I don't know what you'd do. But these men, it never slowed them down. I can imagine them all wandering around trying to get into the house and trying to bust down the door.
Right.
And this is how perverted it was in the days of Lot.
That's what you got today.
And what did Jesus Christ say? In the days, it will be the same as it was in the days of Lot.
Yeah.
In the end times, and we're there.
Right.
But the thing, Les, the bad part about it is nobody considers this to be wrong anymore.
Well, it looks a great gay pride parade.
When we were kids, this was called perversion.
Yeah, right.
But now, it's not.
Well, see, Dave, that's like I always said. And people can be whatever. Our founding fathers set up a government, okay, where religion wasn't forced on you. They expected you to have a natural morality about you. And, which a lot of the law was based on natural law. Like, it's not natural to kill your own children.
Right.
It's not natural to rape, go out and rape people. Now, we're not talking human nature. We're talking because everything evil is embodied in human nature. And that's why Christ died, okay, to bring us back to God. Okay, but he's talking about subduing that human nature and living as a moral people. One of our founders said that the Constitution was for a moral and a Christian people. Mm-hmm. And, like I was saying, there's a lot of good moral people that don't go to church. But you find less and less of them today. And what I'm talking about is respecting one another. Now, if I had a homosexual neighbor, I'm not going to cram my religion down their throat. They're going to know who I am. I get a chance to witness to them. I'll witness, invite them to church. But however, I want the same respect back, that I give them. They can live any way they want, Dave. I don't care how they live. It's up to them. However, I don't want them running around naked in the yard. I don't want them out there having gay pride parades. I don't want that stuff crammed down my throat either, Dave. Let's have a mutual respect. Be there for one another if you need help, and let God sort this stuff out.
It only in today's society it only goes one way.
Well, you see what I'm talking
Tolerance
about.
only goes one way.
Yeah.
Unless you tolerate homosexuality, then you're a bigot, a homophobe,
or a racist,
a homophobe.
Yeah.
But they will not respect you or have any tolerance toward your beliefs. And that's what you had in this court case about the baker who would refuse to bake a cake for a homosexual couple.
Right.
He said he didn't believe in it.
Right.
But yet they took him to court.
Right.
And they took him, and he had to hire it.
It bankrupted him.
I mean, he couldn't make any wedding cakes. All he could make was cupcakes and other things for different occasions, graduations, things like that.
His passion was cake.
Tolerance only goes one way, to the left.
Right.
It only goes one way. And if you're, you are considered intolerant.
Right.
So, we don't go out and have parades against homosexuals.
No. But on the other hand, though, Dave, you do have Christian people like that. What's that one group, the Baptist group that goes out?
They're a bunch of crazies.
See, you have them kind of people that are out here calling the homosexuals and people that they don't agree with all kinds of names and condemning them to hell.
They were demonstrating at soldiers' funerals, which was despicable.
And see, that
was despicable.
In a lot of people's mind, that reflects on me and you too. And these people shouldn't do that, because that's a black eye on us.
But the thing is,
because me and you ain't that way.
I know, but the thing is, there is a right and a wrong.
Exactly.
And no matter what people say, it's always going to be that way.
Right.
That's why God never changes, because He's perfect. His right and His wrong never changes.
But see, me and you can say the same thing through love, and it'll do a whole lot better good than getting up and shaking your finger in somebody's face, telling them how soon they're going to go to hell. You know what I mean? Be a good neighbor to people. Well, now, if I had an alcoholic for a neighbor, I'm not going to treat him like trash. I'm going to be here if he needs me, and I want him there if I need him. You know what I'm saying?
We're supposed to love everyone, but when a woman is caught in adultery, Jesus said, "Where's your accusers?" And they all left.
Yeah, with him without sin, cast the first stone.
Exactly. So he loved her. Yeah. But he told her, he said, "Go and sin no more.
Right.
Don't get caught up in this again."
Right. Yeah.
But what gave her the ability to do that was not the law, but was grace. The grace that was given to her by Jesus Christ.
Right.
He would pay for that sin later.
Right.
The sin that she committed would be paid for. And Moses was right to stone him. But the thing is, it would be paid for by him. So he, in a sense, gave her an IOU. I'll pay for what you did.
Right.
Go and do it no more.
Yeah.
So this is the love of Christ, which we should teach.
Right. Exactly.
That God loves the person, but not the sin.
Right. And see, and that takes me to this place. And is when I see people do things that it brings me back to where I used to be, Dave. It reminds me, hey, it may not be this. I may not have been a homosexual. Okay, I may not have been a murderer. I may not have been a bank robber. Mm-hmm. However, I was that same old lost sinner as the rest of these was. So therefore, Dave, my mercy, my love goes out to those people, because even though I didn't do all these things, I was just as lost as they was, Dave. And, I need to have, it's a merciful thing for me to do, is to pray for them people. Okay, not condone what they're doing.
Exactly. All of us were born into sin. We're all born into sin. We were all sinners. So it doesn't matter if the only thing you've done as a small child was maybe stole a piece of candy out of the store, or if you kill 20 people as a serial killer. In God's eyes, you're still a sinner. Sin is sin.
Yeah.
And you still need Jesus Christ, whether you're the child that stole the candy, one piece of candy out of the store, or if you're the one that killed 20 people as a serial killer. You still have to be, your sins have to be forgiven. And that the forgiveness only comes through the blood of Jesus Christ.
I really believe, Dave, if we all believed that and had the respect and love for one another regardless of our spiritual differences, if we loved and cared about one another in this society, we could live without all this hate. And we could respect one another, who we was, and we could be a different society than what you see today.
But the hate's getting worse, isn't
well,
it?
it's growing, it's waxing worse and worse, you know. And
it's not going to get any better.
You know. But, you know, let me say this. Getting back to Independence Day, but, you know, all this ties together.
Sure it does.
It all...
The reason this country was started was because of freedom of religion. These people wanted
persecution, escaping persecution.
They wanted freedom to worship the way they wanted to worship. They didn't want to have a state state church like in England. That's exactly what they had when they.
Well, you still got it today.
When was it Henry VIII that he's the one that got out of the Catholic Church and started the Anglican Church?
No, that
the Church of
was,
England. Was it the Church of England was started by? Was it Henry VIII?
I think that.
Back in
shucks.
1200
It was Martin Luther that left the Catholic Church.
Well, yeah, he was German.
Yeah,
he started the Lutheran Church, but I'm just talking about the Church of England was started by the King.
Oh,
I think it was Henry VIII.
It might have been Henry VIII.
But they left the Catholic Church because he wanted to marry again.
Yeah.
And the church wouldn't let him because he wanted to divorce his wife and marry again. I think that's how it went down.
And he's one killed his own wife? One of them killed his own wife.
Probably.
He's a pretty brutal guy. But now, you know, in the American Revolutionary War, just from the war alone, this battlefield casualties, deaths, that war went from 1775 to 1783. Now, just on the battlefield, this is just Americans only. There was 25,000 Americans killed on the battlefield in that time span from 1775 to 1783. And that's a heck of a price, Dave. These men, they was oppressed. And it boiled down to when they left Europe and different parts of the world at that time eventually to come here. They was very oppressed, and the religious freedom, you had to, you know, they made you serve the state church. And a lot of these people was ignorant and they couldn't even read. And so they come to America for religious freedom. But as it, you know, it's just like boiling a frog. The king just kept turning it up. And it wound up, the Revolutionary War was over oppression from taxation. And if you look at what we have...
Taxation without representation.
Exactly. But now, and that word representation, they've thrown everything in the kitchen sink under that word right now today. It's not a reason, it's an excuse to raise your taxes. And everything that you can think of is underneath that title, and that's how they justify. But we are very oppressed people.
But see, the
right
thing
now,
is,
Dave, today.
This democracy is we are represented by our Congress. They are the people, the people's house. Mm-hmm. The House of Representatives represent us. And we're a republic, not
supposed to be.
Well, yeah, we don't like them. We should vote them out. But the thing is, everybody thinks that majority rules. Well, that's not necessarily the case. Mm-hmm. And look at this, Les. There is no reason that I can see, when you look at a map, a red and blue map of a representation of Republicans versus Democrats, if you look at a map in the United States, it looks mostly red. There is no reason why we should never lose control of the U.S. Senate.
Wow, I agree.
It should never go out of Republican control. Never. Because look at all the western states that are Republican. We should control. We've got most of the states. We got Alaska. We got everything but Washington, Oregon, and California. We don't have, let's see, we got Arizona. We don't have New Mexico. We've got
have Oregon.
Colorado's kind of a mixture. It's a purple state. But most of the other states in the Mountain West are all red states. So why shouldn't we control the U.S. Senate? I can't see why in the world. I guess we have.
Well, Dave, the corruption is just so bad, Dave. It's
wake up.
It's a shell game. We got 1 minute, brother, and but it's a shell game. It's corrupted, and but it ultimately, excuse me, I'm sorry.
I have to do a Heimlich maneuver. Excuse me.
Yeah. It is up to the people to bring this government back, Dave. Here we go. And he's giving me the Heimlich. Heck, that first of all.
He's choked to death.
Go ahead, Dave. I'm dying over here. We got 30
but
seconds
anyway,
left.
There's no reason. I still say this. There's no reason why the U.S. Senate shouldn't be controlled by 60 Republican votes.
Exactly.
All the time.
All right, 18 seconds. God bless you. I appreciate y'all on Facebook. Thank you, Jimmy. Enjoy your night tonight, brother. I appreciate you. God bless America. God bless you. 6 seconds.
Happy 242nd birthday to the United States of America.
We love you. God bless you. We'll talk to you next week. Same station, same channel.